Right, I hear our guest is in the studio, so we're going to get her on in a second. Let me just because I see she's just fixing her camera there. Let's welcome to the show, Claire Dyer. How are you?
Hiya, how are you? I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Thank you for coming on again, Claire. I know it was kind of we messing you around for a second for a couple of days or two. I think you meant to come on. No, it was today. You meant to come on. Then I said yes.
And then you asked me at short notice if I could do yesterday.
That was right. Yeah, that was right. So I wasn't too sure. I don't know. I got my days mixed up for some reason. I just thought yesterday was Thursday, and I was. And I almost didn't do the show today. I forgot. Oh wait, today's Thursday. I got to do another show.
ULEZ did that with me yesterday. They got me confused with our blockings because they said it's Thursday today, and I was thinking, no, it's not. It's Wednesday, and it's normally me that gets the days wrong.
Look, that means there's a glitch in the matrix. That means that actually we have all missed a day, and all of the chat is about to say now. Yeah, I thought it was Thursday too. No, but we're not. We're not.
You're going to be a really bad conspiracy theorist. I swear that we lose 2 minutes at around 8:30 in the morning every single morning. I won't bother to explain why. That just sounds really crazy.
No, I know our time does move forward when in the morning, but I think that's just because we're just a bit tired. But Claire, welcome to the show. So I've asked you on. Obviously, I could have asked Simon on the counsellor, but
he was on last time.
Yeah, I've had him on recently, and I like to
mix
space out. Yeah, mix it up and space it out a bit. But I thought I'd get you on. So next Thursday is, I believe it's next Thursday, or is it Wednesday? I forget. Again, I mix up the days as well. Sorry?
27th. Is that a Thursday?
Let's have a look. I believe it's Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday coming. Okay, it's Wednesday coming. So there's these group of people originally called the Tooting 5, and then apparently charges were dropped on 1, and now it's Tooting 4. Do you want to just explain to the audience, and also if you want to just recap and just reintroduce yourself to the audience in case there's new people watching, and then just explain what this whole court case is about, etc.
Recap who I am. Well, that will depend on who you're
the ULEZ, all of this. You know what I mean? Just doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be War and Peace.
I'll say I'm a campaigner. Let's just say I'm a campaigner. Currently ULEZ, but probably on the entire agenda. So part of the freedom movement as well, if you like. That's where I originated. Put it that way. Yeah, obviously, for people who don't know, I knew ULEZ was coming because I know it's part of a much bigger agenda. I sat back for a little while and watched because I knew a lot of people would wake up to the entire agenda for ULEZ once they started getting hit by it. And then obviously the vans came into my village. So that's when I became very active, if you like, and then started putting all of it on social media to kind of gain awareness to it and drip feed the rest of the agenda as well, in the hope of gaining more awareness. That's essentially really my role. I just want to gain awareness. I want more people to see what's going on. So that's Brilliant. Who I
am. and can you tell us, obviously, so you've been obviously the ULEZ campaign has been going on for, how long has it been now? Has it been 2020? No, it wasn't 2020. It was 2021 or was it 2022?
I think they actually started doing demos back in, was it sort of January 2023? It might have been earlier than that. But obviously there was a lot of sort of campaigning behind the scenes, I think for about a year before that, because obviously people knew that it was going to be coming into effect. But I don't really think it kicked off until last year, because obviously the cameras started going up way before ULEZ went live. They were already putting the cameras up throughout all of last year. So I would say that's when it became, there was more public awareness to it. So we'll say, it's got to be coming up 2 years now. So,
So obviously since then, there's been many, you've been obviously campaigning, there's been ULEZ protests, etc. and all of that. And Sadiq Khan obviously didn't listen to the people. He had no real mandate to expand the ULEZ apart from being voted in. But before that, before he was re-elected again recently, he didn't have the mandate from the previous his mayorship before. but he extended it arbitrarily, not even though it's not mentioned in his, it wasn't mentioned in his manifesto or the previous manifesto. So there's been many things. So now tell us about this this trial that is coming up on Wednesday. What's it about?
It was about one of the demos that happened to be down the road from one of Sadiq Khan's houses. I've heard he's actually got 2 houses down that road.
He got like 10, I imagine, like, you know what I mean, all around the world. But yeah, but go on, continue.
So it wasn't a demo unlike any of the others, because obviously these demos had been going on sort of monthly. Some might be a couple of weeks apart in all boroughs, outer boroughs that obviously opposed ULEZ. Obviously, we had one in Biggin Hill called Carnival, because it was a carnival, Mexican themed. But yes, demos were taking part. Yeah, demos were taking part. Throughout the whole of sort of last year and up until the mayor elections. Everywhere in the outer boroughs. So this one was obviously on the high street at the end of his road. So it was in close proximity, obviously, to his house. He wasn't actually there that day. He was actually apparently at City Hall. Essentially it was a setup. I did attend. I wasn't going to go, but I decided that I would. I don't know, call it intuition. I knew that something was probably going to happen. And when I arrived 40 minutes later, there was obviously a lot of police already there. Now, some of the people had already got there at 10. Demos start 12. They're 12 to 3. You got the dinosaurs, you got the 1960s bus, the 1930s fire engine. Kids are there. People are dressed up in dinosaurs, just holding placards. Never, ever had any trouble with police. Police would attend, come up and speak to us and say, oh, you know, how long are you going to be here for? No issues. Nothing ever happens. There's never been any trouble, with the police. So to everybody, it was just like any other normal demo. But when I got there, which would have been about 20 to 1, and as I said, people had already started getting there about 10, set up. There was a handful of local police. They had no issues whatsoever. They set up their tables, had some banners up. And when I got there at 21, there was quite a huge police presence. And I actually drove past, I didn't know this until afterwards, I actually drove past Sadiq Khan's house, parked literally just round the corner from his house, and I could see the odd police plotted up in the side rows. I walked past, there was no issue whatsoever, joined obviously the main people at the end of the high street, because it essentially was on the corner of the high street. And all of a sudden it was said, you know, you've got 10 minutes to pack up. And when we were like, well, why have we got to pack up? And they said it was a section 42, although depending on which police officer you spoke to, they quoted quite a few sections. And I tried to go around as many police officers as I could. And I said, look, you must obviously have some kind of common sense. You obviously know that these demos have been going on for quite a few months now. There's never been any trouble. You are obviously trying to assess a situation. You can look around and see there's children here. You know, there was probably about 50 people, if that, I'd say, scattered about. No trouble whatsoever. I said, I really, really hope that you are not going to do something that is going to make the people here feel that they're being treated unfairly or unjust to try and create a situation, because I said, I've got a feeling that's what you're going to do. My intention was to go around and try and get as many badge numbers as I could as quickly as possible, because obviously by this point they had obviously put in, you've got to leave within 10 minutes under this section. And people were kind of like a bit aimlessly walking around. Lots of people did start packing up straight away. I did hear that when they were setting up, the local police had actually helped them set up as well. They actually helped them set up. So that's why I feel that the whole thing was essentially a setup to put these people in that situation, because they knew the demo was going ahead way before, because it had been advertised. Nothing had been done to stop it. No one had contacted anybody or organisers to say, look, you can't be having this demo here. They allowed for people to turn up a good 2.5 hours before. They even helped them set up. And then all of a sudden you've got police from all outer boroughs, even outside of London. I couldn't tell you how many there were, let's say about 100. And they were trying to get us out of there as quickly as possible. I did personally say, look, I actually don't know where I am. I don't know this area. My car is down behind your line, because they'd already created a line of police.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you're going to have to go around the block. I said, I honestly don't know where I am to go around the block. So they said, no problem. Okay, you wait here. So they said, wait right at the beginning of the high street. When the line comes forward, once the lines come through, we will escort you back. So I said, oh, okay, no problem. So I waited there. I found out that also one of the Tooting, now 4, that was arrested. She had also parked her car down behind the line, and she had said exactly the same thing to them. And she was also told the same thing. She was told, okay, wait here, and then when the lines come past, you can then go to your car. She was in a dinosaur costume. So of course she's now sat down onto the pavement to start taking off her dinosaur costume. So that accounts for her out of the well, it was originally 5, but obviously we know one's been let off. So with that, it was all kind of a little bit of panic, a little bit frantic. One woman ended up having a panic attack because of all of a sudden the police presence. But it was really strange, because my personal observation is, for the first sort of 20 minutes, half an hour that I was there, the police seemed kind of quite friendly and more human. As soon as that order was put in, it was like even the police officers that I'd already previously spoken to and just had normal conversation with, it was like they just went blank. They didn't want to engage with you. They didn't want to answer anything you said. I went up to one police officer and I said, I told you this was going to happen. I said to you, I really hope that you're not going to do something to create this situation. And I said, and you've done it anyway. Completely blanked me. Just didn't want to know. It was almost like it was a flick of a switch. They were given this order and that was it. There was no human interaction anymore. It was like they
were. I mean, I can understand why and explain it. It's because simply Sadiq Khan is the police and crime commissioner. He's essentially the sheriff of London. He's the Met Police. That's their boss. It's not. I've got his name. What's the current Sir Mark Rowley? He's the Met Police commissioner, but then his boss is the police and crime commissioner, which is the mayor of London. A lot of people don't. Because part of the mayor of London role is that he's also the police and crime commissioner. He's the head. He's only got 2 jobs really. He's the head of transport for London, and he's the police and crime commissioner. It's just 2 jobs put into one.
The order came direct from him, because it was by his house. That order was put in by him.
Yeah, because he's essentially the sheriff. That's basically what it is. That he's that. So then what happened then? So then. Obviously, 5 people were. How did the 5 get arrested?
It happened really quickly. So Nick Arlett, he was actually. It's hard to describe if you don't actually know where the demo actually took place, and I don't know the name of the roads. But where the police have started their line is essentially where the woman was in the dinosaur costume, where she'd been told to wait there. So she, as I said, she was on the ground. Some people had already left. They had actually managed to leave. But obviously, we had a fire engine. There was a bus. People were needing to get on the bus. People weren't really sure what was going on. So there was kind of a lot of wandering around. They made this line. Nick had gone to the corner where they were on the line, on the corner of the street, and he was just standing there filming with his phone. He was walking back up along the pavement when a police officer crossed from the other side of the road, where a whole group of police officers were, walked across the road, went up to him and said, can you come over here so we can have a word with you? So he said, okay, no problem. As soon as he walked across the road and got to the other police officers, the woman police officer was then told to read him his rights. And with that, they just grabbed him and were arresting him. So, of course, that.
What was he arrested? What were these lot arrested for? Did they all the same arrest?
I can't actually remember what the charge was. I believe one of it was obstruction of the highway. And the only reason I remember that is because it was so ironic, because he was actually on the pavement and he was actually walking towards the bus, which was where the majority of people were going, because obviously the police have been made aware that a lot of people have come on the bus, so they wanted people to get on the bus, because they actually tried to get me on the bus, and I said, no, I'm not going on the bus, my car's parked down there, which is when I said my car's down there, and they told me to wait. So they
would your car, do you reckon your car would have been like impounded or something, or clamped or whatever? Is that a possibility?
I was legally parked. It was just that when you're being told to clear out and you don't actually know where you're going, and for me, I only knew where I'd parked my car and where to walk up, I wouldn't have known how to bypass it. But the ironic thing was, for me to have got back to my car, I had to walk past Sadiq Khan's house anyway. So this is the crazy thing about it. So Nick wasn't causing obstruction because he was actually walking back up the pavement towards the bus. So by all intents and purposes, from an observational point of view, you would think he is walking back to the bus because he's going to get on the bus and leave. So they interjected that, got him to cross the road to the other side where he's now in the road with all of these police officers, bearing in mind that there's lots of people just sort of wandering around aimlessly, and some are still trying to pack up and leave. No one really knows what they're doing or what's happening, and they just arrested him. So of course, that was the very situation that, as I said, I hope you don't create a situation that's going to make the people here feel like they're being treated unfairly and unjust. So of course, the second they arrested him and did that and literally pounced on him, which is essentially what they did, they all just pounced on him, the police officers, everyone was in uproar about it, because it's like, why are you arresting him? He hasn't done anything. So of course that created the whole situation where people were shouting, saying, leave him alone, he hasn't done anything. And then before you know it, you've got a group of police officers over there going for somebody, going for someone over there. It was almost like pick and choose, really. It was like, why have they just picked these people? So of course, the next thing, the woman is obviously getting her dinosaur costume off, sitting on the pavement, having been told to wait there till the line goes past so she can go back to her car. Police officer is whispering like sort of in her ears, telling her, oh, you've got to get up. She said, I can't go any faster than I'm going. Another police officer whispers something in his ear, and the next thing he goes, you're under arrest. And of course, again, the people that are around her are saying, what has she done? She hasn't done anything. So then there was a little bit of a scuffle. The police officer, there's some video footage where a police officer actually puts his elbow up like that to a member of the public, like he was gonna elbow them or hit them. You could see he kind of wanted to, but then refrained himself. Another woman who just had spinal surgery, young woman, got knocked down to the ground. So, of course, then they were requesting for her wheelchair to be got out of the back of the bus to get her in the wheelchair. So now everyone's obviously extremely upset. They all just formed this line. Some of us were trying to reason with them. And and I can't even remember, what's the name of the police officer that's actually in charge of the highest one up?
Sir Mark Crowley.
No, when the police officer that's in charge of a whole unit on scene.
Gold Commander.
He was standing behind the line laughing as all of this was going on, laughing. I saw it with my own eyes. It was disgusting. He was laughing. He found it funny. The older guy who they dropped the charges, he was standing in the middle of the road now. He's got a number of serious health conditions. And he was standing there with the dog, holding a dog on a lead. And the next thing, they've just gone for him. They actually cut him, a female police officer, actually, her nails sunk into his hand. His hand was all cut and bleeding. You know, I've always tried to remain fair. My opinion of humans, if you like, is you're always going to get bad people and good people. And it doesn't matter what your age is, what your background is, your walk of life, your profession. You're either a decent person or you're not. And I've always tried to be fair to police. People across the board don't like the police. I've never really had that opinion. My opinion is you're going to have bad police officers, and you've got, say, the younger ones, because obviously they're getting younger and younger these days. I mean, they're putting police officers out on the streets at the age of 18, 19 with minimal training, which I think is an absolute disgrace, because they're just not experienced enough at that age. You know, they're essentially still teenagers. But yeah, I feel that these young police officers, they go into the police force with all the best intentions. They are naive. They're blind to the fact that the police is a corporation. So I always try to be fair and treat each one on face value. I came away from actually witnessing that situation with my own eyes. And I said, if I had any faith left in the police, it was gone after that, because they created that whole situation. These people should not be on charges. They didn't do anything. And what I would say is the ironic thing about it, that if this was all about the fact that it was too close to the proximity of Khan's house, yet as in within the vicinity, there is, I believe, no legislation or law to say what that distance is. So you wouldn't know how close you could be to the vicinity of the mayor or any MP's house. Second, once
Continue.
that line had moved forward, police officers came up to me and said, okay, come on then, we'll escort you back to your car. They only escorted me back to where the original line had started, just before they made the arrest. And they went, okay, then off you go. And they literally let me walk off on my own. There was 3 of us, back past Khan's house to my car. Now, if we were that dangerous, if we were there to cause harassment, alarm and distress specifically to Sadiq Khan, and we were too near his house that warranted 5 arrests, why would you let me walk past his house on my own? I could do anything. I could be anybody. It was just crazy. The whole thing was just a setup from beginning to end. And then you had also, there was someone from the press there. I believe it was the Telegraph. And I believe that he was given prior notice to the Section 42 before the demo. And he was obviously allowed key access. So he was allowed up close and personal as people were being arrested by
but also
continue. Sorry, Claire, go on.
So I think it was a publicity stunt as well. I think it was done with the sole purpose to discredit the ULEZ movement, to label us as dangerous, and also.
Do you know what outlet he was from? What mainstream media rag?
The Telegraph.
Telegraph.
And I might be able to tell you his name.
Is there? I'm just trying to find footage. I'm just trying to find. Is there any? Say that again, Claire. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Gareth Caulfield. I think it was Gareth Caulfield from the Telegraph.
Yeah, because it's funny because we've been talking about the Telegraph on this show for the last couple of days. Funny enough, regarding the farmers' protest about it, because the MC of it was Telegraph, or one of them anyway. It's quite interesting. Yeah,
he had sent his photographer down, because when it all started with the police, I phoned him because I knew there was a photographer there, and I said there is a Section 42 in place.
I want to speak directly.
Go on, continue.
And I said, and I don't know why they've done this. And he said, my photographer is there. And I said, where is he? I will try and find him. I never found him, because within that instance, it just kind of went a bit chaotic. So,
yeah, welcome to the club of no longer liking the police. I think this is a club that the UNN audience knows very well. This, especially from me, I absolutely detest the police now, and unfortunately, I use that as a blanket term. I don't think personally there is such thing as a good copper, because they are all they will blindly follow any instruction and order, no matter how unjust. And that really changed me from 2020. Really, personally, that really. And they're very well paid. They're extremely well paid, and the perks that they get is quite something. They get 50 grand flat if they're a police constable after 8 years increment payments. They get private healthcare, not the plebs, not the NHS. That's just for the plebs. They get many discounted food and clothing in restaurants and stuff. They get free travel within all of TFL, and 50 miles beyond London, they get free travel.
Uh-huh.
All the
clubs,
all the big clubs. Go on, continue.
Because it's a corporation now, and they work for the bankers essentially, and that's why they get involved in civil matters.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of dealings with the police now.
Yeah. Well,
on a weekly basis almost now, you know, and you never, and I mean, just the other night I was thinking, oh, am I going to get arrested? And the only reason I was concerned about getting arrested was because it was ULEZ related, so TFL. I know that obviously the Mayor of London controls the police. I know that the ULEZ contractors and security lie 100%. I've just got to try and actually physically prove it. And you don't, and I'm thinking, I don't know what mentality of police officer I'm going to get, because it actually all depends whether you are kind of going to get somebody actually young in the police force and reasonable, or whether you're going to get someone who's got, you know, some narcissistic traits. And I was actually thinking for a second, there's a good chance I could end up in the back of a police car here, even though I haven't committed any crime and I've done nothing wrong. That sounds a bit now, doesn't it?
No, well, you know, I was thinking of what you were just thinking as well, but unfortunately, a lot of them, they're from a freedom of information request. Their second biggest crime in the Met Police, the ones that are prosecuted, the ones that they actually bother to prosecute. I mean, like their first big crime is drink driving, which you go, okay, that's a very human kind of crime. But then their second one, you think, well, is it office theft or something like that, or whatever, or drunken disorderly or something like that? No, it's actually sexual assault is their second biggest thing in the Met Police. So. They're not recruit, and you could. I mean, if I just type in perhaps police, although saying that probably won't be the best search to put in, but there's always a story, pretty much almost every day, every other day now, about a Met Police or just any general copper in the UK now about some heinous sort of crime that they have committed. Well, an officer of it. What's this? It's child sex. I mean, Hawley. This is in Hawley, and is that in Sussex or Surrey? Child sex offences against.
That's far down the road from me.
Yeah, child sex offences against Met Police officer. 3 days ago.
I know somebody who has a list of every single police officer, judge since the 1980s. Of all sexual assault and paedophilia crimes, but more importantly, what their sentences actually are. It's next to nothing. Next to nothing. They get away with it.
I mean, this is I've just randomly just put this in, you know, and it's because this would be big news back in the day, but obviously it's so frequent now that it just gets lost in the chaos. Do you know what I mean? Like two Met Police. This is a different story to the one I just said a minute ago. This is just another one. 2 Met Police officers charged with sexual assault. And where was this? Where was this? They're going to be in Westminster Magistrates Court as well on Wednesday, which would have been yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. A 41-year-old and a 39-year-old copper. Where was this? Where did this occur? I've got a feeling it's going to be. Where did it say? Wednesday, sexual assault. What called? Well, it's somewhere, a venue in W1 postcode. So that's West London, West London somewhere, West London 1 basically postcode.
This list that he has is extensive. Every single name, and it was put onto pieces of paper. If you imagine, I don't know, 20 foot by 10 foot, it like literally filled the whole of his floor. The list of names on A4 paper in small print. It's unbelievable. And these are the people that are upholding the law.
Unfortunately, it isn't unbelievable now because, you know, especially when I do a show like this, it's unfortunately I report this sort of stuff fairly regularly. It's just I only got like I only really do like an hour and a half to 2 hours show. He can't fit in everything, but it's just become normal now to me, you know, because whenever I approach a police officer now, I honestly have all of this in mind. I just naturally assume that this copper is a wrong one. That's my and I do think as black pilling as that is, I think that should be everyone's mindset when they approach a copper. Do not engage with them. Just don't engage with them. Blank them. But if you have to engage with them, just remember that this person is. My mindset. I know it might be a bit like wrong thinking it, but my mindset is that this guy is a wrong one.
See, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, what is your opinion on dealing with the police? Because I get a lot of people saying, don't engage with them. You don't have to speak to them. And you should, if you're going to say anything to them, just get their badge number and ask them if they're standing under their oath. And I do engage with them. I'm not going to lie. Don't get me wrong. I don't trust them. And, you know, I'm taking in everything they're saying and I'm very much aware of what I'm saying. But I will record my interaction with the police. So I therefore like to sort of get my point across, especially when police time is being wasted, which is what is happening all the time in our case of all of our interactions with police. It's them being called out, wasting police time. So I do like to get my point across, but people say to me, you shouldn't even speak to them. I don't know. Is there a right way or wrong way?
I honestly, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, if a copper approaches me, and even if he or she is talking to me, I will just walk off like that. I don't even acknowledge their existence. That's what I do. I just pretend that there's like they're flight. I hear something talking, and I just walk off. I generally do that now. But Claire, is there any footage of those arrests? Because I was just trying to. I went on to. That big Facebook group. Do you know where there is? I mean, where it's readily available. I mean,
it was on Facebook. I don't.
Do you know?
I don't know.
I'm sifting through.
Now I don't know how much can be shown now and said now.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking. I wonder if they have deleted it, because I'm just going back on. It's Nick's group. It's not the other group, if you get what I mean. And I'm just going through it, and I'm just trying to find.
There's some key information. Put it that way.
Yeah, because it's got.
I don't think this can be shared or discussed until afterwards.
Yeah. I know, I get that, but I think if it's out in the public domain, I mean, I don't think it's not like where this sort of stuff will be shown.
But then you think, I know that's probably but do you remember, if you knew at the time, what happened with the hit and run case? So the hit and run case that was filmed.
Oh yes, do tell us about that. Yes, go on, because that's over now, isn't it? That's finished. That's concluded now, isn't it?
Yeah, and they just got away. But yes, well, it is, and that's another ironic thing in terms of the police and the law. So anyway, that was filmed. That was clear, concrete footage of exactly what happened. That got shared all over social media. The police said, we cannot use that footage. And I said, well, why? They said, because it's been all over social media, so we don't know it's been edited or not. I said, but if you're going to get it from the original source, so it's got from their phone who filmed it with the original timestamp, then that's evidence. Nope, they weren't having it. I said, but hold on a minute. I said, don't you use footage that's been all over the news for cases? So from that point,
they do. I know this for a fact. They use people's YouTube live streamers, and they just simply download it. I've seen it in court. So that's a load of absolute nonsense.
I clocked on right from the very beginning of that, from the moment the police were involved, that was going to try and be covered up, because first off, they weren't going to allow they didn't allow the footage. It was never allowed in court. So the actual video footage of her being hit by that security car was not allowed to be submitted to court, so it didn't go in. Then me being a witness and also being the person who chased them and physically stopped them 6 miles down the road to then prove that it was in fact a hit and run and he had left the scene. and had no intentions of stopping.
Who was, sorry, just give us a bit of context. What happened? Tell us what happened. Who hit who? And
We were blocking the vans, the camera van.
the mobile camera vans, yeah.
And there was 4 security, the van, and the security van. The security van escorts the security car escorts the camera van on site. So that's got the 2 drivers essentially. They obviously unlock.
It is. You know, again, our taxpayers' money. We're paying for a van, and then we're paying for an additional van with 2 security guys in it. We're paying for their easy job, by the way. They can stand there, they can sit in a van all day and just get paid. Who knows how much to get paid?
So essentially, you had the camera van. So in the camera van, you had the driver and a security in the passenger, and then the security car. There was a driver and a security. They would drive to location, park up. They would then get on top of the van, unlock the box, turn the camera on. So the camera was now live, lock it back up. And then the 2 drivers would get in the security car, drive away somewhere, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes or whatever down the road, and leave the security with that van locked up, rolling, basically. We would then be there with our banners, our boards, to block that camera from being able to find anybody. So we didn't even need to touch the vehicle. We would just stand there, and we were legally allowed to do that. But as things obviously moved along, some areas would get 4 security. So that'd be an extra vehicle. So you'd have a 4x4 of some type, or they also used, I think, the Astra cars, and that would be hiding literally just around the corner, and that would have another 2 security in it. So you could actually end up with 4 security for one van, and they could stay there. I mean, in our area, they didn't last very long. They'd only be there about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but max couple of hours. But in other areas, they could be there 4 to 5 hours, and that van would be blocked by a board for the entire time. But they would stay there regardless. So then when they decide that they're going to leave, the security car comes back with the 2 drivers in it. And then they reverse the process. They unlock the box, turn the camera off, and then same thing, 2 drivers in each vehicle and a security in each vehicle. So that's essentially what happened. The security car came back. They turned off the camera. There was a little bit, I don't really know what was going on, but you had all 4 security there. And that's actually an install. Now that guy there with the mask, that's the one who's been threatening me. Him right there, he's the one that's been threatening me, threatened to kill me, threatened to rape me, threatened to attack my son, threatened to put bricks through my window, threatened to set fire to my car, and the police won't do anything about it. That one that you've just come off.
Sorry, I just put, this is an unrelated video to what you were just talking about.
I know, this is
to give people
install.
Context.
Yeah, this is the install. So this is what we've evolved into now. So this is an install in Bexley where they want to put the electrical box in so that they can then put a pole in for a freestanding ULEZ camera. What we do legally, that they didn't get to that one in time. As you can see, the workers are digging. They've got two security with them. But we get to that site before they do, because it's on a public highway, and stop them before they can do that work. And we've now got 100% success rate on that across the boroughs.
Okay. So this guy, these 2 are these 2 are paid security people. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and they look like mercenaries.
His real name is Rudolph. I can't remember his surname.
Okay, but just before you say anything more, Clay, just obviously, I don't want this to be. Yeah, I've just put this video on randomly to give context to people of the security people that are paid to protect the thing. But this is something this is something else now you're talking about now, isn't it? But
I know, because you've put on a video, ironically, of that security who I've met. Yeah. Many times before. I've been polite to him, and since then, even up until August of this year, he has been threatening me, not via Facebook.
And why? What I mean, because
they are
not staying. Go on.
People.
Okay.
Because majority of these people that they've employed are not decent people. And Thomas Turrell, who's our new GLA member who took over from Peter Fortune, he has just done a motion in the GLA to have basically a specific complaints department for this security where complaints can be followed up, and also for TfL to personally vet these security when they're employed. So a proper vetting process, rather than the security company that's contracted, that they are obviously self-employed too.
What's the do you know what the security company is by chance?
Peregrine.
Peregrine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Contracted.
You know how do you spell that? Sorry.
Peregrine.
Okay, cool. Just want to look up their company.
But yeah,
and just obviously, I'm not just.
I know.
You don't need to go into. You don't need to go into it. I guess it's because I've actually confronted myself just by myself. I was driving around in Bexley, and I happened to I was turning around or whatever, and I just happened to see one of these ULEZ mobile camera vans, and I'll show you what I mean. And I thought, because these people do piss me off, and I do consider these people. I do consider these people. Well, I'm just going to say I consider these people traitors, really, to this country, and they're basically being paid to basically ruin people's lives, essentially, in terms of the ULEZ. There's no mandate, and they are basically paid thugs, paid mercenary. I mean, just look at these two. Just look at the optics of these people. They look like thugs. They look like they're hired goons, essentially. Yeah. And anyway, I confronted them. I started a live stream. I'm just trying to find it now. Just going through my. It was a bit of a while ago.
Got to say though, seeing him there does make me angry, because I've had to put up with, and the fact that nothing can be done about it. You're taking your job a little bit too far when you actually want to try and personally contacting just a woman campaigner who's never been abusive to you, and you're threatening her and her family.
Yeah.
And TfL can't. No, they don't want to know.
No, of course
that's
not. Of course not.
Where the law is wrong as well, and that's where you have the two-tier policing as well.
Yeah. So I don't particularly like these people. I did a live stream with people about a year ago, actually. I think it was in it wasn't Bexley, or at least that was the council. It was in Crayford. That's where it was. It was in Crayford.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know, just seeing it enraged me a bit, and I then approached. I started a live stream on my phone and channel, and then I then confronted them, and I think here it is. I said, what did I call it? I called it. Let's see. I called it. Let me just turn off the sound though. I said, let me just share the screen again to see what I'm talking about. It was. I've got so many windows open now that I can't even see what I'm doing. Let me just. Yeah, here we go. It was. Now I've lost the other one. There it is. Yeah. So the traces to the working people. Yeah, it was in Crayford in Bexley. That's what it was. So I just approached them, and I felt bad at first because I didn't want to film their faces because they didn't have their little masks on and stuff. And I thought it maybe just too kind of bad to do. But this is basically what it was. And I started asking them in the window when I approached them, going like, why do you do this? Like, how much do you get paid to, basically sell out to the people? How much is it to buy your loyalty? How much? It's not real loyalty, but how much is it to hire you guys? They wouldn't say anything, obviously, but I noticed that the people that I was talking to, they were not. They didn't have English accents. That's what I'm sort of getting at. I noticed that because there's a lot of people. There is a conspiracy theory going around that people talk about, and they go, "Oh, the UN, they're sending UN troops secretly, and they're posing as asylum seekers, etc." And I don't believe that personally.
I do. I didn't, but I do.
But what I think it is, But what I think it is, sometimes things get lost in translation. What I think it is that It's not that the UN is sending troops. It's just that people from outside of the UK, they do not hold liberty as a high value compared that we do, right?
They will.
So they get from the wherever country they're coming from. Usually they do, like, because England, like the American Constitution, it's based on our constitution. It's based on like things like the Magna Carta, etc. That's what it's based on. So the American Constitution, people think that is the pinnacle of freedom and all that, but it's not. It's that because obviously the founding fathers, they were Englishmen. They went over, they were descendants of like the Mayflower people and all of that. But that Constitution came from England. So we have this very high standard of freedom. We care more about freedom than anywhere else in the world, even more so than America. Yeah. But when outside people come in, this is not me being xenophobic or anything like that, but I'm saying that they just naturally just don't share the same values as we do for freedom and liberty, etc. So these security companies, which are basically subcontracts from the state, right? Mm. They purposely hire non-British people to do these jobs because they know that they'll do the job because they just don't value freedom as much as the native UK population does. You see what I mean?
Yeah, but one of the worst security who has got the worst record ever for violence, underage, brothels, all sorts, was actually English. And he ended up going over to Ireland to basically be security for the pods that were being built on the Travellers' Land out in Ireland for the illegal immigrants. Joe Black, he was called, and he's changed his name legally multiple times. But the record that he's got, and he just seems to evade it the whole time. English.
Yeah, there will obviously be traitors, naturally, like that's just with anything.
I do question where are the women and children? There are no women and children coming over. Our hotels are filled up with illegal men between the ages of sort of 20 and 35. Why is that? The conspiracy theory is that because they don't hold the same standards and because this isn't their country, they will do the job that our own police force won't be able to do.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, they're an extension. How the UK state gets around the restraints that would normally be used on them from traditions and constitution sort of practices and all of that mechanisms of the constitution. Some of the police can't do. I've seen it in real time. I saw it. There was this thing called Love Down. There was a protest camp during the lockdowns. It was called Love Down, in protest to lockdown. And they hired these goons, essentially. They were called NET, National Eviction Team. And they came along with all of their paramilitary gear that looked like a SWAT team, like you see in American like TV shows. And they just came, and basically the UK state subcontracts these goons for hire to get around the constraints that restrain the police from doing sort of really nasty stuff. And that's basically what these. I'm just looking up the Peregrine security website stuff. That's essentially what these lot are like. That's their way of getting around.
They're not even doing their job. I mean, there's so much evidence. There's been so many reports, so many complaints, so many laws broken that they have done, so many unethical things, including GDPR, filming on personal phones, fabricating stories, sharing video footage to other contractors. I mean, just the fact that one of them has personally contacted me over months and actually threatened me. These people, they're not professional, and they're getting paid over £250 a day to do this. And they're not even professional.
Well, according to the website here, the backgrounds of Peregrine's international staff and team members include military, in the intelligence community, police, and the commercial sector, whatever that means. So, yeah.
Hold on, I don't think
it's actually a very...
one.
So this is not the right one. You're
No,
saying
it's not Peregrine
Security.
International.
It did say it's based in
No,
Peregrine Security UK.
there's another one.
Okay, but that must be related to it, surely, because it's
it is. It's Peregrine Risk Management. Shall I finish the van? So basically, the reason it ended up in chaos when the security car hit the woman was because they were given an order came down because it was heard. We've been told to Foxtrot Oscar, which basically means fuck off. With that, they tried to get the van out as quickly as
Claire, we wouldn't have known that otherwise. You told us. Continue.
you know, you don't know.
Continue. Go on.
Thought I'd make it clear.
Yeah, go on.
So with that, they were trying to get out of there as quickly as possible, but they'd already called the police. They were already waiting for the police, and all of a sudden now they want to get out of there. Why did they want to get out of there so quick? So they got the van out, and it was only on a very narrow lane, no pavements. And then the next thing, the car's gone to go, and the security in the passenger seat basically waved him on, and obviously the lady was in the way. So he drove into her knowingly. Wow. So it was all just for nothing, really. It was just reckless. And then they tried to get away. The worst thing about it is the fact that he didn't attend court twice. When it actually went to court, he was found guilty. He wasn't there. So they had to obviously have another court date for him to be there so that they could actually give him his sentence, which I believe did happen a few weeks ago, but it's now been adjourned to January. So he won't get sentenced until January. He already had 6 points on his license, and people have said, oh, it doesn't matter, he can still drive with 6 points on his license. But in reality, I don't know, should he be driving a security car with 6 points on his license? Probably not. Where the media fits into this, of how this everything to do with ULEZ and to do with TfL and the Mayor is one-sided reporting, is that same day somebody was in court and obviously sentenced to 10 months suspended sentence with a whole load of fines and community service for apparently inciting people to cut cameras down, and did actually send a threatening email to one of the contractors. And then later on that day, you have got the TfL security car man up in court for hit and run, didn't attend, and the press didn't cover it. But the press did nothing but cover the other case, which was obviously against somebody for inciting damage to ULEZ cameras. And that was all over the news. But they didn't report a single thing about how this guy had run over this woman. It was all just kept quiet. And it was
that was weird, because I remember at the time there was only one outlet or two outlets at most that were reporting, because it clashed when that last verdict came out relating to the story that you're talking about, the case you're talking about. There also was another ULEZ guy, and it was something about he being found guilty for the cameras, and that was way more covered. And the other story of the guy hitting this woman, there was barely no mention of it. It was a story that came out the same day. Obviously, you would think that the guy hitting a woman with a car would be way more of the newsworthy story, but no, it was the guy who was found guilty for, and he wasn't sent. He was a suspended sentence, I believe. Do you know that guy? Do you know that chap?
Yes.
Do you know what story I'm talking about? Yeah. So
talking about he was given a suspended sentence,
a community service and a fine, I believe it was.
And on 2 weeks prior to that, Hugh Edwards got 6 months for the indecent.
Yes. Yes,
It's almost like there's so much you can say about it, and at the same time you're speechless because they're just the law is upside down and back to front now.
I know. I'm just still just looking up who runs this business that I can't.
Be careful there.
Current. Oh, yeah. I guess no. It's nothing. It's nothing. Nothing naughty. Nothing naughty. I'm just looking at the people who owns it. It's, you've got to look into all this when you're dealing with these sort of people. It's who owns it, who's the CEO, what's their background. Because it wouldn't shock me. A lot of these things that they're connected with. Yeah, they're connected with state jobs, whether that's military, whether that's police. They're usually ex. They always ex-copper, ex-military person. Really, they're not ex at all. There's just the state creates these companies in order to circumnavigate the normal restraints that would be holding them back. You see what I mean? They purposely create them then to get around the red tape.
We actually found out last December who the security company was because it was under some kind of non-disclosure. You couldn't find out. And we found, a couple of us, we actually found out back in December last year and did a lot of digging and decided that we should just sit on it. And even when I think Susan Hall did an article because she essentially called out the fact that we don't know who the security company is that is hiring these people. We were sitting there thinking we do, but sometimes how much do you want to get yourself involved to put yourself on the front line?
Exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that.
There's some things you just don't publicly air.
Exactly. But Claire, there's I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if you're involved in it, but there's a GoFundMe for the Tooting 5/4 for their court fees. Nick Harlott's been on the show before. He's been on this show before, but it's been a while though. He's not been on it for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I can't remember now. But he's one of the guys. If people want to support this fundraiser, it's up to them. They can if they want.
Got legal aid, all of them, so it will all just come down to whether they get found guilty. And if they get found guilty, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's very obviously strange times nowadays, especially since summer.
But this is the thing, back in the day, you would say, well, first of all, they would never have got arrested, and on what charge? But even if they did, you're not going to think for 1 second that any of them would ever get found guilty. But in the day that we are living in now, you just don't know. I mean, I say enough on social media now to be scared every single day. Am I going to get a knock at the door? Because you can't even have an opinion on social media now without that now apparently being a crime. So you just don't know, do you? But if they were to get found guilty, it would be an absolute crime.
Yeah. This is the recent one. Mother jailed for throwing stone at policing riot. But I mean, that is a little bit naughty, though, to be fair.
A veteran who's got PTSD just been sentenced to 2.5 years for something he said on social media.
That's the one I was just trying to find now. Yeah, that's exactly the same story I was just talking about. Yeah, so it's I mean, you know, look, that's where hopefully the Tooting guys will be totally fine. And it will be all right. But Claire, I think you've been on almost an hour. It's gone quick. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, because I'll let you go.
Yeah, you could talk about all of it because, like I said, it's all part of an agenda. It's always ever evolving. It's not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any other? Obviously, apart from the, are you going to be? Is it at Westminster Magistrates Court on Wednesday, or is it another court that it's being held in? Do you know?
I think it's Westminster.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if I'm potentially a witness at the moment.
Well, bloody hell! It's 6 days to the case. Like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, they must have. They've had months to prepare. I'm sure. Surely you would know by now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, new stuff came to light. So.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I wait to hear. If I am, I am. If I'm not, I'm not.
Yeah, usually Greg Romford will be in the chat and he'll be telling us more about, because he's quite involved in the ULEZ stuff. He'll be telling us what courts it's in and stuff. But we think it's in Westminster Magistrates. So I'll tell people.
In Marylebone, isn't it? It is at Westminster.
Yeah, it is at Westminster. Okay, yeah, cool, brilliant. Okay, well, Claire. Well, anyway, I'm going to let you go. You've been on long enough and put up with me. So thanking the UNN audience. So thank you for coming on, Claire. And yeah, we'll catch you. Maybe we'll get you on again for an update or something about it. Maybe next. I don't know.
I don't know. What else do you cover? Do you cover the farmers? Do you cover?
Yeah, we do. What's your, just a quick one? What's your opinion about the protest on Tuesday? What did you think of it? What's your review of it?
Okay, I can give you a review. So when
were you there? Were you there? Were you?
Yes, I was on the 6-foot wall, so I could get absolutely everybody. I got stage. I got absolutely everybody because I stood on a 6-foot wall for 2 hours, pitched like that in the pouring rain, just to film live coverage of it, which I did. My opinion was I was more than happy to go until I found out the night before, because a lot of the arrangements got changed, the location, the times, etc. And the thing that kind of was a little bit of a trigger for me was the fact that they wanted people to register. I questioned, why do you need to register to freely walk on a public highway in London? To me, that then was almost like data gathering. A lot of people were then kind of saying, oh, conspiracy theories about data gathering. My personal feeling about demos and protests in London are, which obviously is very split, this opinion down the freedom movement. But my opinion is, along with many others, is that they are controlled and they're there to basically data gather because of all the CCTV footage. And I know that for a fact. And that it's essentially to pacify you, and they do nothing. And if they didn't want you protesting, they wouldn't allow it. I went in open-minded with the farmers because I do support them. I do have a solar farm going up on some land a couple of minutes from my house. That land is also, the whole farm's being sold. So I do feel quite strongly about that.
Is that, so do you know if that farm, was that because obviously the hardships of running a farm, or was that because he's well into that family's well into the green environmental stuff?
I found out, funny enough, the person who is the representative for this particular solar farm company actually lives on a farm. His dad owns a farm. I said, do you actually support what it is you're selling and believe in it? He said he does, but he said I think this is naive. He said, this is a way in which farmers can keep their land, because they don't sell them. They lease that particular field to a solar farm company. And he said, and then the sheep can still graze. I'm thinking, I know you've already lied to me in this presentation. So I don't actually fully believe that, because we know that after 5 years of a solar farm, that land is unusable for up to 40 years. It becomes brown land. So I don't believe, oh, we can still keep that field and our sheep can graze, and then after the solar farm's gone, we can use it again, because he must know that they can't. So I believe that's a land grab, that farmers are going to try and save themselves by leasing fields, selling, whatever they need to do. But with the farmers demo, so the first warning was the fact that they wanted everyone to register online. That was a big no-no for me. Then it was that they weren't allowed to bring their tractors in. I'm like, okay, now you're giving all these terms and conditions. Then it was, there's far too many people here. We now cannot allow you to march. Well, how big are the Palestinian demos? How big were the freedom demos during lockdown? Massive. The other thing I noticed, and funny enough, I watched a video just tonight of someone saying the exact same thing, and I hadn't discussed my own personal observation with anyone, and I was thinking, God, you saw it as well. The police were incredibly smiley and friendly and chatty. Never seen that before. I also didn't like the fact that Kemi, Conservative leader, spoke. I believe her to be WEF, whether that's true or not, but that's what I believe, like many others.
Yeah,
so
she is, yeah.
She's just a puppet. She was up speaking. Then you had Lib Democrat, I can't even remember his name.
David,
so although I filmed the whole thing, I switched off. I'm standing there thinking, I'm watching a show, a controlled show that's pacified. Jeremy Clarkson, the celebrity, he walked through the crowd and then he spoke. Nigel Farage, he walked through the crowd, never spoke. To me, it was all very neat. It was all very organised. It set off at the time it was supposed to. You had all your speakers in order. No offense to the farmers. I 100% support the farmers. I 100% believe that the farmers have nothing but good intentions. I don't think that all of them see the entire agenda yet, but they know they're being hit hard. I think they went in with this demo with all good intentions, but essentially the entire demo from beginning to end was completely controlled and organised, and I think it just served to pacify everybody that went. Okay, I went because I support them, and I went because I thought the one thing I can do, felt a little bit of a hypocrite being there because at that point I didn't want to be there, but I thought this is not going to get any mainstream coverage. And I will tell you very quickly, the ironic thing was I got there, I did a 20-minute live, which actually ended up completely frozen and bitty. My entire phone shut down. I literally couldn't access anything on my phone. I did manage to by joining a hotspot, but it took about 15 minutes of even being on a hotspot, and I'm not very good with technology, to be able to actually go live, finding out that so many other people couldn't go live. There was people on my live saying, share this live because we can't access any other lives. So I don't think there was that many people actually on live social media, because there was definitely some kind of jamming the signal there. And the only news mainstream media to report on it, live coverage, was GB News. So I did it so that people could see that yes, this was going on, and this is what's happening, because you had obviously farmers speaking about their stories, and people do need to hear that. But in terms of these demos, and I feel the same way about the Tommy Robinson demos, I think they're timed at just the right time when there's something going on. It riles people up. It gets people out on the streets. I just think they're controlled. It makes you feel like you're doing something in a good atmosphere with like-minded people. You go home feeling good about yourself, and it keeps you pacified and quiet. I personally believe in direct action. And then you're going to get people criticizing, saying, well, what's the answer? Because ultimately anyone you put in government is controlled. How do you fight the system? I don't know. How do you change this? I don't know. I just know that I will do what I can to at least delay it, or do what I can round my area, because I can't sit back and do nothing. There you go.
Yeah, well, I think that was a very in-depth review of it. That's basically, what we think here at UNN as well. It was basically to pacify the people. It was totally, I mean, how can you fight the establishment when you got the leader of the opposition, the Conservative leader, you've got Sir Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, the post office scandal guy. You've got the MC in the event was David Cameron's sister-in-law.
Yep.
Jeremy Clarkson, BBC. Well, always been in the BBC for a long time. To be fair to Clarkson, I'm sure, but it needs, like you say, it needs to be the farmers. I think have been hoodwinked. They need to wake up to this fast. Yeah. They're being led down a garden path to nowhere, and they need to get rid of all of these big name people and just have a bottoms up, decentralized sort of movement, and sort of really do take direct action, like from the French and from other European sort of countries, the farmer protest wise, because that is not doing anything. Like it was, I couldn't believe it while I was listening. I thought it was going to be a couple of other sort of what I think are not so obvious establishment people trying to hijack it, but no, it was generally the establishment. They brought out everything. There was even a bit in it where they looked like there was a guy. There was that fake medical emergency. The crowd started booing.
That did happen. There was one directly sort of behind me to the right. People literally all of a sudden were in chaos. And bearing in mind, I'm standing on a 6-foot wall. They're on the other side, way back. I mean, when I say everyone was jam-packed into that like sheep, like cattle, herded. Everyone was on top of each other. I'm glad, although that wall was horrendous, I'm so glad I was on that wall, being only 5'1" and not in that crowd, because you literally couldn't move. So there was definitely one down there. They were trying for ages to get their attention by shouting. And then we had one directly opposite, and then there was one on the other side of me. I don't know what happened. I would find it hard to believe being there that was kind of set up because it was so random and so far away from the stage. So I do believe those incidents happened. I don't know whether it was because people were so crammed in, because they were crammed in.
I can imagine it. I like my thing is to sort of lean more with you in that regard. I do think that was just an actual thing, but knowing how duplicitous this UK state is, I could honestly believe that they would plant people in there, because when some of the crowd would start booing based on some of the speakers that spoke, they would, in order to drown out the let's have a medical emergency. You know what I mean? It wouldn't shock me if that was the case as well. But I would probably say, it was genuine, because I did see the photographs of the crowds, and it did look pretty crammed into those areas.
Honestly, I was a little bit worried, because I thought if anything was to happen, you're going to get crushed. You're going to have crush injuries. If anything happened, if one thing had happened, I think everyone would have just gone down, because it was that tightly packed. There's no way I could have stood in there for 2 hours. As much as that wall was horrendous, because it was slightly pitched like that, so I nearly fell off it whilst trying to film. I was glad I was up there and not down there. But there was a lot of farmers there, and I actually was surrounded by farmers. They were all wearing tweed, their caps, which is why I said a couple of things on my live, like when Kemi came on, I said she's wef. I felt a little bit insulted, with some of the speakers, but I had.
You had a Labour baroness speak as well. A Labour baroness, you know what I mean? Like, and we went to say, oh right, that's like it's like you're trying to fight like Stalin, and we're going to start up a movement, right? Who's going to speak on the anti-Stalin government thing? Oh, we're going to have Stalin speak against the anti-Stalin brigade. It's madness.
I do think you've got to be careful what you say. I mean, I know somebody who just says it as it is. I try and choose my words carefully. I haven't been as outspoken about my thoughts on the demo. I will, but I thought let's just give it a couple of days first, because I think people need to really kind of be open-minded and see the whole picture. Don't get me wrong, we get a lot of false information on our side. I just think you should always have a critical mind to everything.
Yes, you should definitely be vigilant. Yeah, in that
definitely.
But Claire,
we need a party for people, but how do you do that? And one that doesn't get corrupted within the system, because power does ultimately corrupt.
It does, yeah. Well, that's what I think that whole protest on Tuesday was designed to do, was to make you think that there's a political solution to this. That you just need to put an X in a box and that will solve everything. That's all you need to do. I generally think that's what it was, because you had mainstream politicians up there, and it's just to get you back into that matrix of we can vote our way out of this tyranny, but it's never been done in history. You can't vote your way out of tyranny. It's never done. All those dictatorships, you can't just vote out the dictator. Do you know what I mean? Even though go on.
I just put you on. So you said that obviously that demo, you agree it was just a pacifier. We're not like the French who just went in there and, create carnage, and it's kind of direct action. But when I was last on, direct action is the cameras, but you don't agree with that.
No, because I just don't think that that's actually doing anything. I think that it's well intentioned. It does seem like it's something is going on, but I don't think it's basically what's known as, and do read, I won't, because obviously you've been on so long, but do look into what is known as the Cobra effect. And that's what I think.
We talked about that, but I don't think one way is the way, a combination of ways. Don't get me wrong. You must know how many millions of pounds worth of unpaid fines there are. So people are doing that.
Yeah, it's 350 million pounds worth of unpaid fines.
You've also got to take into consideration that the 85-year-old lady who lives on her own, who's too scared to not pay the fine because she's going to be scared of the bailiffs on her door. I will still maintain.
I know. I get that. But unfortunately, we can't really model coddle these people. If they don't want the ULEZ, I think they really do need to. They need to get
86-year-old lady.
I know. Doris, I get it, but
The
unfortunately,
disabled person, the mentally,
we do have to make a bit of a stand here. I think people look, if people are willing to go out and block cameras and doing all these other things, I think what people need to also do is that what people. I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. It's better than doing nothing. I agree with that, but I think just
You've got a lot of people doing
the
nothing.
risk, the cost. No. Well, what I would say is you simply don't pay the ULEZ, and if enough people do it and get wise with how bailiffs are governed, how and get smart with
That's
funny enough,
happening as well.
funny enough, listen, funny enough, I was reading there's an article beforehand, and how there was a Guardian article, and it was saying that how this year they've impounded 1,400 vehicles, right? If people are going to make this stand, they don't not just pay it. There's obviously consequences to that. They need to get smart. For example, don't just park your vehicle outside the house that it's registered to, because then you're helping the bailiffs. Then you have to move your vehicle. If you want to buy a vehicle, if you want to buy a new vehicle, perhaps, Claire, and you've got fines, perhaps you don't buy it. Perhaps you get a mate or a family member to buy that vehicle for you, and then on the insurance thing, you're an add-on driver. But really, it's your vehicle, but someone's just buying it on your behalf. Perhaps you've got to get smart with this sort of stuff.
You do know that a lot of people are doing this, don't you? There's people.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Yeah,
trusts. I know a lot of people who don't pay their ULEZ fines, and they have amounted to thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. They don't pay any of it. Congestion, ULEZ, none of it. Yes. They don't park their car.
I'm one of them. Go on, continue.
I still maintain that not everybody is strong. You think about people who are very mentally unwell, and that little old lady. That's not going to happen. So I do think for now a combination of things. I do. It's all still direct action. It's not trying to float your way out.
And like I said, it's better than doing nothing. I'm not saying do absolutely nothing. That's not doing what you're doing.
Also, these cameras are ultimately for state surveillance.
Yes, of course.
So we need them gone anyway. And you're never going to vote them out, are you? Because that's what they want.
No,
digital ID, digital currency, state surveillance. So this is all just a ploy right now as to why we've got these cameras. They're never going to be for that. Every single camera, there is already the technology being built that basically every single type of camera you can possibly imagine out on our streets is all going to go to one single database. Technology is not my thing at all. Seriously dumb when it comes to technology, but it's all going to go to this one data gathering place.
No, I do agree with that. Claire,
so ultimately, it's not about ULEZ. It's about what the intentions of these cameras are for. And if we don't have them, they can't use them.
Yeah, and that's as Carl Mid says there. Yeah, that's a fair point. And yeah, it's true. It's true. But me personally, because I've done that. I've been out and done the activism that you speak of. But I'm just measuring this by does the results of doing that actually outweigh the cost of doing it? If you get what I mean. Is it worth it? Is it worth the action of doing that? And I think personally, and again, I could be wrong, I just don't think that in the long term thing, the cost of it, of going there, of investing your time into it and all that, outweighs the actual results of it. Because come on.
Do you know roughly how much it costs them for every install that doesn't get put in? Every single one.
No, I don't know. But I know how it's paid, though. It's paid by our taxpayers' money. And what will probably happen is the next financial year is that they go, oh, we've got to raise taxes again because these ULEZ people are taking down. Do you see what I mean? Like that. Go on.
They're going to do that through all the non-paid fines as well, because it's all about money. And if they're losing money for people not paying fines, and they're losing money because they've not got the infrastructure in, it's all going to come from the same pot. It's all going to come out of our money. All of it is. It's always going to come out of our money. Why have they taken the winter fuel allowance away? Why did they put in ULEZ in the first place? To cover that. That
well,
black hole, which they're never going to fill because there's
no.
always going to be a black hole. Yet the simple fact is, because we still have the pound, they can just print their own money anyway.
Yeah, they can print it, and
the entire thing is a lie.
And you're correct. They're never going to pay that debt. We are at least, I think, we're at least £3 trillion in debt. You know, people don't quite understand the magnitude of what a trillion is. You can't count to a trillion. If you tried to count to a trillion, you would die before you would ever reach it. You just can't. It's impossible to reach that figure. But
so they're never
it just gets
stop taxing us. They're never going to stop taxing us. So I get what people are saying about, oh, that's coming out of taxpayers' money. But the fact is, do you really think that if the installs were going in and the cameras weren't being taken down, they'll go, oh, okay, don't worry, we won't put your tax up now. It's never
but we have to go through a long run of this. The long run is that this is just, blocking the cameras and not paying the ULEZ, both of our sort of ideas, right? They have to go more than that. They have to stop paying the council tax. There has to be a massive revolt in this country. It doesn't need to be every single citizen in this country. It only needs to be like about 5 to 10% of the population. It just goes, we're not paying council tax anymore. But all the taxes that we can control, we're not paying them anymore, and that's it. And then there has to be essentially a general strike of some sort, and that doesn't just mean not going to work. It means just not participating, not paying any sort of, if they can, not paying any sort of taxation that they can, and then just saying, no, we're not doing this anymore. And I think that is what will bring the country to its knees. I think personally, the regime, I mean, not the country, but
I've always said from day one, there's plenty of people out there, and it's not foolproof, but there's plenty of people out there that know the law. They know why council tax and all of this is fraud, and they know how to deal with the bailies. If every person was put on a crash course, speed course, and everybody, because there's loads of people that have been doing this for years, 5 years, 10 years, it will catch up with them at some point. But if everybody, if you had enough people to do it, that's how you break the system. No council tax, no utilities. It would, it wouldn't be
on the utilities, of course,
but it would break this. It would break the system enough that they would have to go back on it. But do you think that's ever going to happen?
Well, I mean, I think based on what I've seen in the last couple of years, I think, and I don't mean to blackpill people, I don't see it at the moment. However, I am seeing a lot of people slowly waking up. I've seen like the ULEZ people that they've gone through a journey, and the farmers, I reckon, are going to go through a journey now. So we're all we've all been on journeys previously via lockdown. I'm sure people before as well. They had their wake up moment, but you don't need every person to wake up, though. That's the thing. Like I said, you only need about 5 to 10% of the population to just go, and then it all just falls apart like a house of cards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you think next year as well, car tax is doubling, insurance is still going up, the fuel tax duty free stops. Gas and electric has just gone up again. More and more people will get hit. And this is what I said after the farmers' protest. It will all come down to your personal financial circumstances. That's, all the time that you can manage to get by due to your financial situation, you will just carry on doing it. But it'll be that one thing, that one time that will break you, that will make you stand up and go, well, no, I can't do this anymore. And that's essentially what happened in lockdown. That's why so many people during COVID, when they lost their businesses and they didn't qualify for the grant, they said, I had no choice but to learn and research all this stuff about council tax and utilities, because they said they literally couldn't pay it. It wasn't even a choice thing. They didn't wake up one day and think, oh, this is all a lie, so I'm not going to pay it. They literally couldn't afford to pay it. And that's what's going to end up happening. The more and more as people are hit by this, and you've only got to go on the government website to see that they're already putting what's essentially the infrastructure for digital ID in. Yet when they pulled back on vaccine passports, everyone went, "Oh, look what they tried to do," and they knew they couldn't get away with it. No, that was just a test. That was just the test for.
Well, that's why. Like during those anti-lockdown, I maintain to this day that was the most authentic protests that we've had in ever, I think, in UK history. I think possibly, and maybe up there with the Iraq War as well. We had a protest against that, yeah. But that you could tell by the way that the mainstream media were acting that they just did not want to cover it. They just didn't want any invisibility. They were terrified of the authenticity of you had before, obviously the big thing before was Brexit and all of that. You had Remainers and you had Leavers coming together. You had all different races coming together, all different religions, all different age groups, everything, all coming together. And they were saying, no, this is absolute nonsense. They were terrified of that. They were terrified of people genuinely uniting. But now you go on, continue. Go on.
Say they played numbers down. You know, they wouldn't show coverage of it. They wouldn't even. I mean, how big was the biggest? There was one in. It was the summer of 2021 was the highest number. Was it almost like?
It was something like a million. It was huge, and they just wouldn't report on it. And but then now the media. This is what makes me quite sus of the whole farmers thing. Not that I'm saying the farmers are not in peril; they are. But what I'm saying is the UK state then made sure if the media are reporting on it, that's their way. Because I generally think now the media is just basically Operation Mockingbird 2.0 now. It never went away, the CIA-controlled media in America, you know, with Operation Mockingbird. But we have that now. And I generally do think now, as mad as this may sound, that most media personnel people and all of the editors of all these rags, and even like they're now moving into Operation Mockingbird 3.0 with alternative, you know, like, oh, we're YouTubers and all of that. I generally think that these people are security assets. All of the media are basically security assets. All the BBC presenters, all of that, they're all part of the UK security state. And if they're covering these protests, that's their way of trying to capture the minds of all of those farmers and trying to basically just de-escalate and pacify them. And then, you know, getting like David bloody Cameron's sister-in-law, what's her name again? I forget her name now. To MC, and no doubt she came up to these quite gullible, and that's not me trying to mock them, but you know, people who are new to all of this, and that she's come along. What's her name? Just trying to find her name. She's come along and goes, oh, I can get you connection, get you a stage in Whitehall. I can get all of these big name politicians to come on. And then the farmers will go, oh, great. Yeah, that will get us coverage. But they don't know that this is their way of basically dousing the flames of anger. I mean, this is keep it in mind. This is what this lady, this is her here, Emily Sheffield, right? She was emceeing the event, yeah. This is what she was saying during lockdown. It's time for London's unvaccinated to pay with their freedoms, not ours. So this is a person who doesn't give a damn about any kind of freedom for other people. This is during the mandatory sort of jab. This is one of London's lead organisers of today's protest in London. This on Tuesday. We still have hope that the real farmers will stop messing about and take the necessary action to defend their livelihoods and not be conned by the likes of Samantha Cameron's sister. That's who she is. Cameron's sister-in-law. So this is what I mean. Like this is, in my opinion, Emily Sheffield is basically a security asset of the UK state, and that was her way of networking with the farmers, trying, you know, and sucking them in, thinking that, oh yeah, well, don't worry, we'll get all these big names, we'll get Jeremy Clarkson up there, we'll get all of these people, and they'll just go for it because this is their first time, this is their first hurdle. They don't understand yet that they're going to go through a journey, but will it be too late by then? By the time they wake up, that's the problem. That's what I worry about.
What happened with the freedom protests? The second they had that organised event at Trafalgar Square with stage and speakers and people doing speeches, I was like, everyone's been cattled in here. Everyone's all in one place, accounted for, controlled. Listen to all these people speaking. You're being given permission to have a stage like that. Yet all of the protests that were unorganised during lockdowns before, no coverage, and the police brutality that actually went on during them.
That's another thing as well. Yeah, like I said, like you said, the farmers' protest. Look at compare what you said just earlier about the farmers' protest. All the police were all nice and smiley. And you compare it with like how Trafalgar Square one was when you had all the first big one, but and all the others, not just that one, all of the others, they were absolutely like going around their batons, beating it all a bit. That's what I mean. They were terrified of the authenticity of that. That was the only. That's the only. That's been like maybe the Iraq one, but I was a bit too young for the Iraq one. But it was that one in recent years. You compare to all of the other big protests that were going on more or less around the same time, and the police were completely different people to them. And that's why I don't like the police either, because they can they can switch. They're like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde with you. They can be all nice and friendly. Oh, how you doing? Well, first of all, they're information gathering as soon as they come along. Hey, what are you doing here today? And all this crap, right? And they're gathering information, and then just like that, what you might think is a friendly copper, they will just switch and arrest you like that. And that's why I don't like them. They're very duplicitous sort of people. Yeah. So that's what I worry about, I think. But listen, Claire, listen, you've been on an hour and a half. It's been really fascinating, though, chatting with you. It's been really interesting. But yeah, someone said in the chat, maybe come on the show. Maybe so A show. I'm the B show. I'm the Dud show. The B. Sorry.
You broke up. What did they say?
I said, "Oh, come on again on maybe David's show, perhaps next week or something. We can talk about, because obviously he wants people on who basically talk about the farmers' protests, etc. Maybe come on for that or something, and obviously give an update on perhaps the trial, perhaps next week. I don't know. It's up to you. If you want to come on,
yeah, sure.
We'll chat. Yeah, we'll chat about it. Obviously, just because obviously David might have some other guests lined up already, but we don't know. But anyway, Claire, I'm going to let you go. Where can people follow you if you if they want to?
Well, I'm primarily on Facebook under my name.
Okay.
I'm on TikTok as well, but I'm not very great at TikTok. I'm not very good with the whole social media.
I didn't know you were. I didn't know you were a 16-year-old girl. You on TikTok, yeah?
This is the problem with where they try to discredit social media.
Have you got one of your kids running? Have you got one of your kids running your TikTok account or something?
No.
Is that what it is?
I try to run it myself, and I get told off all the time because I'm not very good at it. But if you can cut through the crap that is on TikTok, sorry, no offense, but it is, you actually will get a lot of information on TikTok.
To be fair to TikTok, it is actually it's actually quite good for getting info. I was on TikTok, and so was UNN, but because based on the stuff that we talk about, it's very censorious. It will just ban you.
I mean, the latest thing now is ASMR, I think it is, where you make all these noises with your mouth and with foods, and honestly, it's just creepy. And then you've got the people that just dance, and they get
you get rid of those, and then you find some interesting videos. Then but I got banned. I got banned from TikTok. So did the UNN account. That got banned.
Really? What for?
And we were just we make like Telegram videos and Instagram videos and all of that, and then saying things that just went out. We just put that. They're just very censorious, like that. And there's no free strike rule like with YouTube. It's just now you're banned. That's it. That's it. They're just like that.
I've said I need someone to run my social media accounts like these celebrities do. Like I need a management team because I'm so rubbish at technology and social media that it actually causes me so much stress. So I am on X, Twitter, I think under my name. I don't know, but I just don't even bother because honestly, I'm rubbish at it. I really am. What am I called even on Twitter? I don't even know. Oh, at Charlie D 76 is Twitter. I don't really put. Oh, and I don't know what am I called? I think I'm at Claire Dyer talking truth. But people have said when they look for me, they can't find me.
There
you go.
Yeah, I see you. I see you. That's this. Do you actually use this account? This seems a bit. Oh, I'll follow you now, but
and then there's me on Facebook, but I don't see. But I have a. Oh yeah, that's my ex.
This is
that's
you,
a really old photo. That's it's a really because I set up that Twitter account years ago and I don't use it. But
so this is not the one then, no?
Yeah, that is
Or is this
me.
the
Oh,
one?
it doesn't
Oh,
look
this
like
is
me.
the one. This is your account. Oh, okay,
That's,
cool.
I have not changed that picture since I set up my Twitter account, which I, oh yeah, 2011. There you go. And if you go scroll through that,
Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed at all. That's fine. Okay.
but yeah, Facebook. Really, I'm better at Facebook.
Facebook. Yeah,
I've got a
Facebook.
lot.
I've put the link in already. I put the
Yeah,
link
I've
in.
got a
So
lot of fake Facebook accounts going around of me at the moment. It's unbelievable.
okay.
Stealing all my
Okay.
content, trying to scam people. I keep trying to tell people I will never
Oh,
friend with you. I will never.
that's the excuse. Is that the excuses, Claire? You go, I don't work with me, it's someone else. Just make
Seriously,
sure.
they're scamming
Just make
them.
sure that money gets sent to me. Yeah, I'm trapped. What is it? What's the excuses that they use? They go, "Oh, I need to."
I don't know. I've
What is
just
it?
been told.
I've lost.
I don't know. I've
Go
just
on.
been
What is it?
they literally are taking my entire pictures. They're even faking the fact they've got 21,000 followers, and they're stealing my content. So they're posting it up so it almost looks legitimate. But the amount of people that are messaging me saying I've had a friend request for you, and it's Claire Dyer with an extra R, Claire Dyer 0, Claire Dyer 1, Claire Dyer 2. I mean, they're endless. And the same thing is they're asking me about my finances. Basically, they want them to get into crypto and Bitcoin. And I was like, oh, it's not me. I have to keep putting messages out saying I will never, ever personally message you first or request you. It's dangerous when you get associated with that.
It is. It is.
Not me. I'm not trying to scam people into crypto.
No.
So there
No.
you go.
That's
where
another
people.
thing. But anyway, Claire, we're
Then,
going to let you go. Thank you for coming on the show.
thank
We'll
you.
get you on at some another point soon. Yeah. Take care. Yeah. All right.
See ya.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend. Take care. Have a good one. Take care. That's it. Bye. 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 That was Claire Dyer, guys.